The whole family is finally together in Wuhan for the Chinese New Year. Everybody is in a holiday mood. And suddenly,
a new viral pneumonia that has been spreading in China's Wuhan city has claimed its first casualty.
There are fears that the virus could spread even faster.
There seemed to be a virus in Wuhan.
The Chinese city of Wuhan is on lockdown from today, with all outbound flights and trains suspended.
All the ferries, boats, trains, airports, and even the highways are shut down, closed. There was no ways to get us out. What are we going to do? This is the darkest moment in my life. I grew up in Wuhan. It is my hometown. Faisal is from Singapore. We got to know each other when we were working on a project in China. Aryan is 6 years old. Arden is 5 years old.
What do you call corn? Corn. And then in Dutch you say maize.
Faisal is very open-minded in terms of career development. And this has gave us opportunities to live in different places in the world. Our kids are growing up in the Netherlands, in Singapore, and now in Taiwan. Chinese New Year is the one occasion that I always try to dedicate it to Wuhan, for our kids to have knowledge, exposure, and also a personal experience related to China. I got to know about the virus a couple of days before we fly. News about unknown virus in Wuhan, which the government believe is some kind of pneumonia. If I remember correctly, the national TV news confirmed that this virus is contagious. The numbers of infected were increased dramatically. Sensed something was not right and got really worried.
那时候就会开始担心海燕适不适合这时候回大陆，而且他回去的地方正是武汉。这毕竟是1年1次他们这个家人的聚会，我们身边的朋友，所以有些人会跟我说：“你要不要再劝劝海燕啊？”但是他既然已经评估过、做过决定，其实他就会做到。海燕的特质就是如此。
We have planned that me and the children will fly to Wuhan first. Faisal was supposed to be in Wuhan on 22nd of January. As we drive into the city, there are still a lot of constructions going on. New buildings are up, and everybody is in a holiday mood.
Spike in the number of cases of the Wuhan pneumonia virus in China.
The outbreak has been linked to a seafood market in the city.
I was asking Haiyan, do you know where this traditional seafood market? She says they've lived in Wuhan for all their lives and they've never been to this market. And they said that it is very far, it's more than 40 kilometers away. Haiyan suggested whether I should just stay in Taiwan. I wanted to see my kids. I felt it is Chinese New Year. That's a time when family needs to be together.
Faisal arrived to Wuhan on time, and we got into a taxi pretty fast. Taxi driver was wearing a mask, and he was actually asking us, why does Faisal come to Wuhan at this time when the situation is getting more serious?
The Chinese city of Wuhan is on lockdown from today, with all outbound flights and trains suspended.
The next day, that's what everybody was talking about. All the public transports in and out of Wuhan will be shut down. Wuhan is under lockdown. Faisal and I were looking at each other. I think my first thought was, if nobody gets in and nobody gets out, what are we going to do?
Top story tonight now. 2 major cities in China are in lockdown tonight to try to control the spread of a deadly coronavirus. Wuhan, the center of the outbreak, has been cut off from transport networks.
In China, in the last 2 decades, it's always about efficiency, about economy, moving fast. And suddenly, everything stopped. We take a walk to the riverside, where usually is packed with people. It's so quiet and it's so empty. It doesn't look like the end of the world, but it feels pretty close.
The only 2 shops that were open were the supermarkets and the pharmacy. All the businesses were shut down. All public transportation were banned. We were restricted to our own residential neighborhood, and they've blocked out all entry and exit points. A lot of patrolling is going on, and that's when the fear starts to dwell in. I've never experienced such a lockdown at this magnitude. Wuhan being the epicenter of the virus, the infection was increasing quite an alarming rate. I couldn't help thinking about what happens if you get infected. We were really in a state of panic and shock because the hospitals in Wuhan were overwhelmed. People were being turned away. We need to get out of Wuhan. I was making a lot of phone calls to different airlines about the possibility of leaving, but they said no.
There are a number of people who are busy planning to escape from Wuhan. I heard people like drive out of Wuhan overnight just before the lockdown. 7 of us, where to go, how to go. There was no train or no ways of transportation to get us out.
Although we were living in Taiwan, the Taiwanese government were putting priorities on their Taiwanese citizens first. The 2 kids and myself, we are Singapore passport holders. Haiyan still has a China passport, but she is a Singapore permanent resident like any other foreigners who have married a Singaporean. There are Singaporeans trying to get in touch with the embassy and to find out exactly what possible plans they have about returning to Singapore. If MFA can help us out, we will go directly to Singapore. Then we will make our necessary plans to go to Taiwan at a later stage. I received a call at 10 o'clock from the Singapore embassy. We have a confirmed flight flying out of Wuhan on the 29th. Right? Would you like to make that decision? Haiyan, she was kind of in a momentary state of shock. She was concerned about her parents, and she's wondering who's going to look after them. I said, it's your call. I do not wish to make that decision that will have an impact on her parents.
all the news were saying that it affects elderly people more. I definitely thought that I might not have the opportunity to see my parents again if something happened to them.
I received a call, the Singapore embassy. He introduced himself. The embassy has received information that Singapore permanent residents holding a Chinese passport will not be able to fly back. He said very, very bluntly, your wife is not able to go back. You need to tell us in 45 minutes whether all of you will stay or who will be flying back to Singapore. Option one, if I look from a practical sense of view for what's good for me, it will be for the kids to be behind with Haiyan and for me to just proceed to go back to Singapore on my own. Haiyan has always been a primary caregiver for the kids. If I do bring the kids along with me to Singapore, am I able to take care of the kids? Am I able to continue the way I'm working, traveling half of the time? But knowing that I've left my wife and my kids in Wuhan, what if something happens to them? What if they get infected? I will not be able to fly back to Wuhan. I will not be able to see them. And is that the right decision for me, that I have placed my work at a higher priority than the people that I love? Scenario number two, to bring along the kids with me and leave your wife behind. That's something that nobody should be in a position to decide.
There is a lot of fear and anxiety as time goes by. People are desperate. I've seen some posts forwarded by friends. The doctors and nurses were crying for help, asking for medical supplies. I also have the fear that if one of us get infected, that would be the biggest fear, that you won't be able to get treated. You won't be able to even get tested.
When the call came in, Haiyan just said, you and the kids go. I will stay behind. We look at each other, we hug. No words were spoken, nothing was exchanged. It's just a long hug and just knowing that we are there for each other, not knowing what the future is going to be. We decided that my two kids and myself will fly to Singapore so that they will be safer. Haiyan will stay behind in Wuhan. We hope that with the embassy help, Haiyan will come back and join us in Singapore at a later stage.
When I saw the kids happily got into the car and happily waved goodbye to me, it's like they are going to a fun trip with Papa. That was when I felt really, really sad. I've never been away from them for more than 2 weeks since they were born. It's still so heartbreaking. And the worst part is you don't know when it will end.
While we were in quarantine, Aden has the highest temperature among the three of us on a daily basis. It got me worried.
Our son is the one I'm worried a little bit.
Close your eyes.
It crossed my mind that he could have the virus.
Strong, very good.
What if one of them is sick? And what happened to the other one? We're talking about 2 young kids who really need parents to be aside. And Faisal It's not fair for me to ask him to take care of both of them at the same time. At that time, a lot of other families that has the similar situation with us were appealing to the MFA to work with the Chinese government to bring and the family members back to Singapore. I'm quite hopeful that there will be a second evacuation flight and I will be able to fly because I'm a Singapore permanent resident. I think it was around February the 5th or the 6th that the Singapore government is arranging a second evacuation flight. It was a bittersweet moment for me because on the one hand, I will be able to be closer to my kids and my husband. On the other side, I am leaving my parents behind. Now I can only hope in my heart that it will get better in Wuhan. On the day of my arrival in quarantine, Faisal told me that Arden is healthy. That's a relief for Faisal and me. But I still cannot be with them because we were in different quarantine locations. Later on, one of my friends told us her mom passed away because of the virus on that day. It was a shock for me. Until then, I never felt the virus is so real and close to me. It's like everything is out of control and there are more bad things that might come. In a chalet, they gave us like a hotline we can call if you have like too much stress. I actually called that helpline and talked to a lady for quite a long time. It's the darkest moment in my life.
Three of us were discharged from our quarantine on February the 13th. Haiyan and myself agree that it is critical the kids get back to the normal routine, and that's our top priority. Haiyan will stay behind. In Singapore, Aryan is just in K2, primary 1 soon. At that time, Taiwan will not accept any China passport holder back into Taiwan. We decided that maybe it is best the kids and me go back to Taiwan as soon as possible.
Faisal told me that their quarantine ends on the 13th of February. The next day, it's Valentine's Day. I went downstairs and I picked up the paper bag and there is a rose in it. And that was a really nice surprise. Faisal and the kids could see me and I can see them. I can even hear the children shout, "Mommy, Mommy." It feels again like a bittersweet moment. We only saw each other for a very short time. And then the next day they went back to Taiwan. And I don't know when I will see them again. Yeah, it's almost 5 months since I haven't seen the kids. I keep imagining how my kids look like right now because they must have grown taller and stronger. The kids are back to their normal life in Taiwan.
Say hi to
Hello. Hello. I try to keep my spirit high most of the times, but all I can think of when I can be with my family again. When Arden runs to me and hugs me so tight, I realize like how much he misses me and how much he needs me. It was very emotional, but I really have no words for that moment.
Yeah. Oh. Big hug. Where's the big hug?
No.
Now we are home. Right? Escaping from Wuhan from the moment we were there in January till now, it just shows that if there is a strong relationship between anyone as a family, right, the bond that we have will overcome any kind of obstacles.
Even though we were apart, now we are together. It just tells me how much we love each other and how much we need each other, and we need to be together. And this is all family is about, and that's all it matters. That chaotic period, time in Wuhan is far behind us.
After all these months.
We have to move forward and look forward to something good